But either way, I'm
Boys.
excited because Gino Reda is here. Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, this is great. Gino, how are you? We can't see you.
I see you guys, but I don't see me.
You got to hit the camera button.
Camera button there.
The camera button. And what would? Oh, I see where there. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I'm like this big. You guys are huge. That's brutal billing.
So Gino, you got.
If this were a marquee, I'd be like the period at the end of a sentence.
You've got the standard issued bookshelf behind you that every TSN employee has.
Yeah, it's a green screen. It actually is not even here. It's just totally just a green screen.
But seriously, Gino, is that a real bookshelf that you have in your home, or did you get
that
put in? Did you put that in for these shots?
No, it's a real bookshelf. It's real stuff. It's actually my stuff back there too. I had to put some of my own stuff back there because before it was just, like dog toys and stuff like that. So, yeah.
What's your best piece of memorabilia behind you there?
Ooh, good question. I don't know. There's a lot of charitable stuff back here. Oh, you know what? My favorite one is, though, honestly, I think right here. I'm not sure if I pointed at it. That's the Queen's Jubilee medal. I was really proud of that. That's really awesome.
Oh, yeah. Very cool. Wow.
Yeah,
very nice.
That was really
Gino.
cool.
Gino, yeah. I didn't know that did you start at Global Sports Line? Was that your first on-air job?
Did you not hear the story how that all happened?
No. Tell us.
Oh my gosh. I was working cable TV, like local cable, like, Rogers, McLean Hunter, local cable television and stuff. And I was volunteering, just did it as a volunteer. And I thought, you know what, I should give this a shot just in case maybe I can get a real gig out of this and actually get paid for doing this. So Jim Taddy, of course, was hosting Sportsline, which was the preeminent 30-hour sports show in the world. It was them and Hickman and Charles and CNN were the only two 30-minute shows. So I thought, I'm going to try to get a job on that show. So I went in, wanted to meet with Taddy, met with Taddy. And in those days, we used to have, I don't know if either guys reminded this, the 3/4-inch tapes. They were about the size of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were freaking huge. So I brought in my 3/4-inch tape with my demo reel of all the stuff and McLean Hunter. And I said, here's what I've done. I'd like to get a gig here. And he goes, you worked in cable television. He shows me a stack of tapes. He goes, I got like 50 tapes over here of guys who got way more experience than you. Why would I hire you? And I said, I'll work for free. And he said, seriously? I said, yeah. This was June, I want to say 85 or 86 or something like that. And I said, I'll work for free. I'll cover the Blue Jays till September. And if you like me at that point, hire me. And if you don't, I'll walk away. It'll cost you nothing. So I said, sure. So I was a free reporter for him for 3 or 4 months. And in September of that year, he hired me. And then I worked at Sportsline for a couple of years. And then a couple of years later, they hired me in September of '88 at TSN. My first gig was covering the Seoul Olympics. So if not for Jim Taddy, would not have been here. So take that as you will. That's either a good thing or a bad thing.
That's a big yes guy.
Were you living at home? Like how did you manage to? That's very ballsy. I gotta say, very impressive. But how did you pull that off? Like, didn't you need to eat?
Oh yeah, I was eating. You know what I was doing for actually a job at that point? I was working in a factory, and I'll say the name because it probably doesn't exist anymore. Sid Shear Lighting, close to home. And I was working in a factory that in the summer months repaired Christmas decorations. You know those big Christmas decorations you get if you're driving down a big thoroughfare, those big cast iron Christmas decorations with garland and bulbs. So in the summer months, we would replace those and fix them. And in the winter months, when all of those decorations were out on the roads, we filled fire extinguishers. So if you need a fire extinguisher filled or a light bulb replaced, I'm your guy.
Wow.
And Gino, so you started at Sportsline in '85. So you were covering the Jays the year they won their first pennant?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was nuts. And I fell into I just got real lucky because, believe me, I had no experience in covering stuff. Juan Beniquez, you're sure you're never going to remember this name. Juan Beniquez was a Blue Jay. You remember Beniquez, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow, good for you. You are a Jays fan. So the day he got released and sent back down to the minors, he got released by the team. There's 2 doors back at the old stadium. You could go in through the dugout or you can go into the main hall. You're not supposed to go into the dugout. You're supposed to go into the main hall. But I was in the third base line in the pit with a couple of the other media members, and I just walked into the clubhouse right after the game while everybody else was standing outside. Beniquez just found out that night he had been cut, and I walked in with the camera and saw him whipping stuff around. I had no idea what happened. I had no idea what was going on. I just stuck the microphone and I said something stupid like, "So, how you feeling?" And he lost it. Started dropping F-bombs and all kinds of stuff. It ended up being the lead on Global, on News, not just Sportsline that night, because he lost his crap on that night. So it totally, trust me, guys, a lot of this stuff just fell on my lap.
Wow, that's fantastic. And you were working, it was Bill Bird and Don Martin.
Bill Bird,
right?
And Mitch Azaria.
Yeah,
it was even before the Don Martin days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then Hebsy, of course, right?
Yes, Hebsy. Yeah. Hebsy's a good man. Hebsy's a good man. The personalities between Mark and Jim, they were just, oh my gosh, because they're both really strong personalities. And they each had their own ways of doing things. Both extremely talented and way ahead of the business in terms of what they were doing. I remember when I took the gig, people were like, friends were nuts. They were like, "What are you doing? Why would you go to TSN? No one's even heard of TSN. What is TSN?" Because at that point, we were still on pay TV. And they said, "Why would you leave Sportsland? That's the legend of all television." And I was like, "Man, am I screwing this up? Am I making a big mistake here?" But it turned out okay. Again, not because I was a smart guy.
And Jim Ralph was there too, wasn't he?
He wasn't there when I was there.
Color commentary for the Leafs.
No, he was a little later. He was a little later than that. He was still, I think that was still in his days playing, riding the buses. I'm not sure.
So you go to TSN in '88 and they say, "Hey, do you want to go to the Olympics?" Literally, like they send you over to Seoul.
In 1988 in the summer games, I remember we'd already done the Calgary Winter Games. I wasn't part of that. The crew went to Calgary for that because it was inexpensive, and TSN in those days didn't have a lot of money. But for Seoul, basically it was Rod Smith and I. Rod Smith and I were the overnight guys who did we basically did 12-hour shifts each. We would do the overnights. I would do the live part, and Rod would do the prepackaged stuff in the mornings from, I think it was like I was working 8 to 8 and he was 8 to 8. I can't believe Rod never told you this story. So we were doing this stuff, and basically we were in studio. We were just hosting from in studio and voicing over highlight packs that then became inserts into our broadcast. So while we were one of the broadcasters for Seoul, we didn't send a big crew over to Seoul. We sent a big crew to Calgary, but at Seoul, we were in studio. And that's when all the Ben Johnson stuff, and it all broke overnight. And it was like, wow, this is nuts. Like it went from there's word that an athlete, a very high profile athlete's tested positive. Then it became there's word that it's on the Canadian team. Then it became it's word that's on the Canadian team and it's a gold medalist. And at that point, we knew who it had to be. And the whole mass exodus out of the Seoul airport that night. And then I became the steroid guy. I don't like the way I said that.
Gino, the steroid guy.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I wanted to ask Gino, changing topics here. We know you as the pasta sauce guy. So you gave us some homemade pasta sauce. And I'm not just saying this because you're here. It was some of the best sauce I've ever had in my life. What is your secret?
My mom. That's it.
Yeah.
My mom, we do it. There's 5 siblings. There's 5 Redas in the family. And we go every, August, and we get bushels and bushels and bushels of tomatoes. And we send out pictures of all the jars and stuff. It's all homemade. My mom's got the secret recipes. She sits there. She's not as active as she used to be, but now she's the great overseer, and don't mess with Teresa. Otherwise, you're going to be in big trouble. So she sits there and basically says, just this number of bay leaves, just this much olive oil. Okay, a little bit more stirring. Okay, it's not quite ready. Okay, now it's ready. Now, get it out. So if you screw up, you're in big trouble. But no, she's a legend. Yeah, she's a legend.
Can I take you back to those early TSN days? Let's talk about some of the people you worked with. Did you work with Mark Jones?
Come on, Jonesy, absolutely.
Is it
Do you want a story about Jonesy?
Yes, let's hear a Mark Jones story.
Jonesy and I would be doing the shows.
Oh, wait, before you do that, Gene,
yeah.
We should just give a bit of background because I'm not sure how many young people know exactly who Mark Jones is. Mark Jones was a TSN guy, but he's been at ESPN for, 25 years, Gino,
Oh, yeah.
say. He's been there, yeah. And he's doing play-by-play there. He's been extremely successful. But he's a Canadian guy, and he's Paul Jones' brother. People don't know.
He's Paul Jones' younger brother. Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
I'd be working shows with Jonesy, and I would see him have a piece of paper out, and he's writing. I'm like, Jonesy, what are you doing? He says, practicing my autograph. And I'm like, come on. He goes, no, seriously, because I'm going to need it. I'm like, okay. And you know what? He's right. Like the guys.
I read another story about him that he wore TSN apparel to a mall and complained that he was being recognized or something like that.
Yes, there would be. I think the phrase was, "I can't believe people keep recognizing me." And I said, dude, you're wearing a big TSN logo. If you don't want to be recognized, don't wear the logo. They're putting 2 and 2 together.
Speaking of the logo,
hey,
Look
nice.
at that gem. Look at that gem of a logo.
Nice. You know, I don't even have one. I don't even have one. No.
What? We have to rectify that.
Did you guys tell the story of what happened with those things? What you guys did to me with those things? With the autographs? Did you guys ever tell the story?
Oh, didn't you have to? Oh no, tell the story. I think I know what you're going to say, but no,
you guys, without unbeknownst to me, said, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do these mugs, and Gino will sign them all." You kind of just an offhanded remark. If you guys buy it, Gino will sign it. We'll give the money to charity. And so then I got a call from our PR department. Are you okay if we do this? Because they've already said you'll sign the mugs. And I said, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't care. Like I'm thinking, like a couple of dozen, whatever. So the next day when they put these things up for sale online, they call me back like 10 minutes later and they say, Gino, they're sold out. I went, oh, that's cool. But there's a problem. And I said, what's that? We sold I think they said 1,500 mugs. And I said, they said, we can tell people that, you can't sign them. And I went, well, he's already promised them we'll sign them. So literally for probably 2 weeks, they were bringing boxes of these mugs by my office. Yeah, that's my signature.
That's really your signature? I thought it was just stamped on.
No, that's totally my signature. And you know what they had to do? You cost them a fortune, by the way, because in order to make those signatures stick, I had to sign the mug before they glazed it. And then they took the mugs back, put them in the boxes. So basically, I'm pulling these out of the boxes, signing them, putting them back in the boxes. And then they took them back to the manufacturer, who then glazed over the outside so it didn't wash off. So I think TSN lost about 10 grand in the deal. but we raised a lot of money for charity.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
That was a fun thing. That was really a lot of fun.
What are some of your other favorite kind of career highlights from your time at the network, Gino? What comes to mind the most when you think about that?
Well, the whole Ben Johnson thing was pretty chaotic. That was nuts. I was on the set the night of the OJ, the white Bronco thing. I remember they said, Gene, you got to get on the set. OJ's in the Bronco, and we don't know what he's going to do. So I had to sit on that. So I had, guys talking in my ear, keeping me up to date on what was going on. Through all that. So that was pretty dramatic. It's kind of rough because I've had some great moments. I've been on the ice for the awarding of the Stanley Cup a number of times. I've covered the Athens Olympics. Vancouver was spectacular. So if you guys are talking about what my favorite memory is, the gold medal game in Vancouver. Oh, so you guys were at Vancouver. So we had the big CTV box right at center ice. You'll love this story. So as part of in our private box for the gold medal game, we had Michael J. Fox, and he was allowed to bring a guest. So he brought his mom, which was really awesome. So we had Michael J. Fox in the box for the gold medal game, and his mom sitting there. Right next door to us, was Vince Vaughn. And he was there with the big celebrity box. Do you guys know the story? Am I telling you a story?
No, okay. I don't know this story.
So we're sitting there watching the game, and Brent Butt was in our box, and all these, really nice Canadian celebrities, good people. So we got Buddy here is going to fix our Wi-Fi. You will be okay if we do that, right, guys?
Yeah.
I'm having some problems with my modem today. Sorry, what's your name, sir?
Gurjinder Singh.
Gurjinder Singh is here to fix my Wi-Fi. He's here to fix my modem. And that is not a joke. It's 100% serious.
6 feet distance. You got a social distance.
We got social distance. That's why I'm back here. He's made his way to the modem. He's going to take care of us, the Wi-Fi. So where was I? Okay, so Vince Vaughn is in the box right beside us. So at the first intermission, someone comes to our door, and they said, "Gino, can you go it's Vince Vaughn's guys?" And I went, "Okay." So I go to the. Where did Dan go? Does he just get up and leave in the middle? Is this
No, I'm here.
This is walk around.
Yeah, it's
I thought it was a good story. So Vince Vaughn's security guy comes and says, "Mr. Vaughn wants Michael to know he's welcome to come and join us next door." And I went, "Did Michael say he wanted to come?" And he goes, No, just let him know that thumbs up. He can come next door if he wants and hang with us for the second period." So I went over to Michael and I said, "Vince Vaughn is next door." He goes, "Yeah, I saw him." He says, "You're welcome to go next door." And he looks at me and he goes, "No, I'm good." And I had to walk back and tell him, no, he's got no interest whatsoever in coming to sit with you. Like, it was very weird. It was a very weird moment.
I appreciate that from Michael J. Fox. That's integrity. I
think he fixed my modem. Did you fix it already? No. Oh, he's still working on it? Okay. I bet you this is the first day, boys.
It is, but this could be the whole podcast, and this seems like an advertisement for Bell and the high quality of customer service that they're providing. Right?
There was some kind of mechanical thing on the street, and they're trying to figure out where the 5 issue is. So,
well, a lot of Wi-Fi has been overloaded because everyone's at home. So, speaking of being at home, Gino, have you taken up any new hobbies? Are you playing lots of board games? Are you doing puzzles? What have you been doing?
I'm working, brother. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you've noticed or not. I'm working. I'll tell you what, though, is really good, though, because we get the producers, all of our producers, so I don't have to mention the names. They'll call and say, "Okay, we want to hit." Today we did a hit 31 bowl predictions with Frank Sarbali. We do features with Craig Button. We do features with all these guys. But all I literally have to do is stand up, put a shirt on, walk up and sit down here and do it from here, which is great. But we're like literally packed with these things all day.
I know.
It's great. It's great.
We had your 31 predictions with Frank on our show today. Actually,
see, there you go.
Yeah.
Well,
see, there you
so
go. I'm just creating content for you, brother.
You're kind of like us, Gino. Jay and I were mentioning last week. We've never worked so hard in our lives.
Yeah, they are much longer days. They are much longer days. People laugh. They go, "You're not really in your house, are you?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, in the house." Yeah, it's actually happening.
Does it feel, Gino, like you're back at those Rogers Cable days where you're setting up your own camera and shooting your stuff yourself? It feels like I'm in broadcasting school again. Is what it
is. It does feel like that. And you know what blows me away, though, is the technology that we've got that allows us to do this. Because if this had happened 10 years ago, there's no way we're doing this. The whole idea that we could send a live feed down a fiber optic line and get the kind of quality in these things that we do, no shot, no chance we could have done that. And the fact that we're doing it right now, I've got a guy, Ryan Bolton, one of our guys at TSN, who literally, we do a 5-minute, that's hockey every day that we send online. He does the whole show on his phone. I have no idea how the heck he does this, but he edits it, puts graphics, he got dissolves and cover and stuff like that on his phone. Like, no way you're doing that 10 years ago. No shot.
No, you're right. Well, when we were in the Olympics in Korea, I guess it was 2 years ago, we did everything on Dejero, the same system we're using now to do these shows. And I remember thinking, okay, this is the future. You're right. You're absolutely right. Hey, Gino, I have thought you and I met each other in 1996. I was an intern in the TSN newsroom. Any memories of Jay Onright coming into the to 2225 Shepherd Avenue East?
Are you teeing me up? Did I say something bad to you or something? Are you teeing me up just to really make me look bad here?
I was actually thinking it was going to be the opposite. I thought I was letting you carve me because I feel like I was probably I don't know, maybe I was a little punk ass kid or something.
No,
like that.
Tall guy. My first impression was tall guy and a very weird sense of humor, which I like. I like the weird sense of humor because the boring sense of humor is are too typical. So that was good.
I think that was a fun time. I enjoyed that time so much because it was you and Lisa Bowes and Mike Toth and Landsberg and Brendan were doing the 11 o'clock show, and it was there. Rod was of course there,
and producer Tim was on the road with you.
Yeah, producer Tim and I, Gino, I don't know if you remember this. The interns for the winter semester, January 1996, were me and producer Tim. We were the interns.
Honestly, do I remember that? No.
Yeah, do you remember that?
No.
No. Gotta be real honest with you, brother. No.
Yeah,
I've got
we
5
weren't
guys
that
on my staff. I know the names of 2 of them. So that's not true. Come on, I joke. I kid, Sam. No.
Yeah, you'll get it eventually.
I will. You know what? Prompter. They put their names in prompter.
Is it weird though? Like I know you're producers too, and they're all young, like 10 years younger than Dan and I. Like, is it weird? Like, are you like, hey, don't tell me what to do, you little punk kid? Like, oh, I'm running the show.
No, it's fun. It's good. You know, we've gone through a number of different producers since I took over That's Hockey. Jeff Mott, who's now one of our senior guys in hockey. Mike Lane, who's one of our senior guys at TSN right now, and then Dan Salem, who's there right now. I like the fact that in many ways we use the That's Hockey show to kind of bring guys along, train them, help them to learn to write and stuff. Not that the experience at TH helps that happen, but it's just part of the growing process where they take over an entire show. Like, it's one thing to be a producer amongst many on a given show, but when you're the lone producer of an entire show, you've got to learn every aspect of that show, how to work with the marketing department, the sales department, and how to create content. And so if you can do that, we've seen a lot of our producers go on from doing this to other major leadership positions at TSN. Now, I'm real proud of the guys that have come through our system and that continue to do so, because it's a great experience for them. It really is.
So Gino, we mentioned this on our TV show Monday night. This is I don't know if you're speaking to many hockey people over the weekend, but this is the most optimistic it's been since everything was put on pause. And speaking with someone within the NHL family, they said, yeah, hockey is going to happen, which I didn't think I'd ever hear this year.
Here's what I believe. What I believe is they're taking their cue from what they're hearing from the president and from Anthony Fauci. I think a lot of people are taking their cue from them, and basically where they're trying to encourage them, saying, let's start to open things up. And the whole idea is this whole rolling opening thing. There's so much money, guys, to be made from the broadcast of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The gate money is incredible. Like, if you open the gate and bring fans in, you're making somewhere about $3 million US profit per game. And that's a big number. I get it. So if you go pretty deep, you can make $10, $15 million that way. But the revenue from the broadcast of the playoffs is enormous. It could be $500 million, which for an organization, the NHL, that makes about $5 billion on the year, to make $500 million plus just in the 2 months of the playoffs or 3 months of the playoffs, however long you do it, you really got to get the playoffs in. So before, where we were saying you would never want to play in front of empty stands, they're kind of softening towards that, because they're saying there's so much money to be made to basically just write them off, forget it. So how close are we to potentially opening up in front of empty stands? So now this means that you've got to make a lot of specific rules. For example, maybe you don't play in 16 different venues in the playoffs if there's 16 different teams. You don't go back and forth. Maybe you pick 2 sites and you book off an entire hotel at each of those sites. Your players only go into the hotel, and they go from the hotel to the arena, and they play at the arena. They play every other day, but they don't go anywhere else. They're quarantined in the hotel. They're quarantined in the arena. There are no fans. You protect the players. And you do that at 8 different locations with the 16 different teams. And then you move to maybe 4 different locations, because that's something you can control. You've got to be able to keep control. And so now I think the league is saying, let's come up with a contingency that if we can do that, we could still make our $500 million plus, but keep the fans safe by not letting them anywhere near the players, and then keep the players safe. And both sides really, really want to make it happen, because
the players,
HRR.
The players would have to have daily tests almost, wouldn't they? Daily COVID-19 tests?
No, not necessarily, because if you test everybody before you go in, okay, you've tested everybody before you go in, and you give them a 2-week quarantine period in a training camp. Now you're virtually certain that everybody there is healthy. Does that make sense? Did you track that? So you put them in a 2-week quarantine beforehand, then you test them. Now you know everybody coming in is clean. You do that with all of your staff. You do that with everybody. And now you put them in a safe quarantine spot, which is a hotel, and you only let them go between the hotel and the arena where everybody else has gone through a quarantine. So essentially, what you're doing is creating a bubble around them at wherever they're staying, and a bubble around them wherever they're playing. And they're not allowed to go anywhere else. They're not allowed to go to say, I'm going to go for a burger or to a restaurant. They don't do that. You bring the food in. You don't let them go grocery shopping. You don't let them go for a coffee. It's a complete bubble where they're staying and a complete bubble where they're playing.
It seems like a lot of work.
For a lot of money. It's a lot of freaking money.
Yep.
I'm pretty skeptical, but it would be amazing. It would be amazing to see it.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying if you're going to do it, that's the way you'd have to do it. I can't for the life of me see it happening in front of live crowds. I can't imagine that at all. And I certainly don't imagine that happening with 16 different teams hosting games. I don't see that happening. It's just, there's no way you can get
I just can't believe how we used to live. I was talking about this with a buddy over the weekend. And so we have a fair here that comes to town in September, the Orono Fair. It's great. They haven't canceled it yet.
I've been to it. It was good.
They haven't canceled it yet, but
I'd love to go. I never had an invite though, Jay. So.
But I was talking, I'm like, remember when we would go to the fair?
Remember when you invited me to the... Oh, yeah, no, you didn't. No.
Okay, this year, if it happens, you're coming.
Okay.
But remember, we would walk around a fair, play the games, go on the rides, eat French fries, and never once wash our hands. Like, it's like, imagine doing that now.
No, I can't. I you know what I'm really looking forward to, honestly? Just something simple, like walking into a restaurant and ordering dinner, going to a coffee shop and just having a coffee and not worried about who put the lid on my coffee. Just real simple stuff like that. But given what people are going through, the fact that I can't do that with a cup of coffee, or the fact that I can't do it at a restaurant, it's hard for me to feel bad for myself for that crap. That's way down the scale of what's really matters.
We're technically working right now, which is pretty hilarious when you think about it.
My dad still laughs at me. I remember my first 5 years working at TSN. He goes, "Ma, when are you going to work?" I'm like, "Pa, this is a job. They pay you for this?" And I went, "Yeah." "What, to watch television and talk?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, because my dad was in manual labor and construction, right? So this makes no sense to him. He still doesn't get it. Doesn't make any sense to him.
You got a pretty good life. Gino, it was awesome having you on the show. Finally.
Hey, I've enjoyed it. I can't believe you guys haven't invited me before. Wait a second. Is this because you couldn't get anybody else?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all, actually. We were talking about it. We think it was because you would leave, because you do your show at 7 and then you'd leave. So it felt like we were calling you back to work. Nobody ever wants to be called back to work. Even if we were calling you on the phone, you're technically still working. So that's, I think, why we never had you on. Yeah. But now I feel like you're going to be a regular on the podcast.
You know what? I got a lot of free time.
Thanks, Gino.
Thanks,
Stay
guys.
safe, my friend.
See you, buddy.
See you, brother. Take care.
Gino Reda. Look at Gino Reda. Legend.